Hello, good evening, guys. My name is Diana Valenciana, and for my Counseling 63324 class, which is called Substance Abuse and Addiction Disorders, our professor assigned us to interview either a close friend or a family member who, at some point of their life, was struggling with substance abuse or is still struggling with substance abuse. This could be either alcohol or drugs. And in my case, I decided to interview one of my close friends, which for disclosure reasons, we're going to call her Jane Doe to protect her identity and to not disclose anything else that could make her feel uncomfortable or that could maybe affect the trust that she has on me. And therefore, in this video, we're going to be talking about 4 different things. You're going to be seeing the questions that I asked her, including the answers that she provided, as well as how she feels about the addiction counseling field and some strategies that could be seen in Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, as well as my personal view or how I felt by interviewing her and by getting her answers. So let's begin. The professor provided us with some sort of questions to ask, and other questions I added myself, just because I felt like I needed to get a better background story of this addiction rather than just asking like superficial questions. And I think this was the goal of the professor as well, to give us like an idea of what type of questions were needed to ask, and for us to be like, okay, I have these questions, let me add more questions to it, right? So the first question was, does this person have a drug of choice? To which she has tried various type of drugs, but for right now, her drug of choice is weed. It's her preferred type of drug because she says that it's easier to obtain and it's cheaper. So it's not hard. It doesn't affect her budget as much as other drugs would. And it's easier to find as well, in the sense that she doesn't need to look for a plug, or she doesn't need to go to extreme extents to get it. Like, it's very accessible for her and a little bit safer than other ones. I asked her, like, what does it feel? What motivated her to consume it? And what she said is that this drug would actually make her feel really relaxed. And she's usually very overwhelmed with work, with her lifestyle. So when she would start to consume it, she started to notice that she would be very relaxed, that she would be very calm. And this is exactly what she needed at those moments of stress. As well, it also helped her with her insomnia. There's moments where she said that she couldn't sleep for various nights, that she struggled, that she would sleep for 5 minutes, then wake up, and so forth. But when she consumed the drug, she would sleep like a baby. She would sleep very, very calmly. I asked her at what age did she start to consume drugs, just general, because I'm aware that she had consumed various drugs, and she said that she started at 15 and her first one was ecstasy. And how she was introduced to it was by her friends. She would hang out with a lot of people who would sell drugs. So at one moment she became curious about it. She saw that it was sold a lot, so she was like, hey, like, what is it? Like, what does it do? And her friends actually didn't offer it to her. She was the one who was curious about it. So they were like, oh, well, it's this, and that. We're at that situation. It was a person selling ecstasy, and that was her first interaction with drugs. The interactions the effects that she has when she noticed that she was taking both drugs, because there was only one instance that she took 2 drugs at the same time. She said that she took cocaine in bars, and she felt like her heart was beating out of her chest, like if it was going to explode. Specifically because both of these drugs do the opposite. So one is to control like your anxiety, and the other one is to help you with depression. So she said that she feels like her heart didn't know how to react. She didn't know to calm down or to like become a little bit more pumped up, and that she got really, really scared. This was one of the experiences that really, really affected her and that scared her. On the other hand, when she would only take weed, she would just feel relaxed. She would feel really tired. to the extent that she wanted to fall asleep, but she would also feel very happy. How she described it to me is that she would feel like she couldn't stop smiling. Like her face was just smiling. Like it was numb, but it was always smiling and she was always laughing. That when she would eat munchies, she would get a better experience from it. That the munchies tasted better, that she could just eat everything and anything she wanted. And those were her effects with weed. So since I know that now she only limits herself to weed, there was a point in her life where she would do a lot of drugs and constantly, like different types of drugs. So I asked her, like, what do you feel helped you recover from constantly doing drugs? I was honestly maybe expecting her to tell me, no, like I went to rehab, but she never went to rehab. I asked her and she said, like, no, that she never went to rehab. She never talked about it with any counselor. She never did anything of that, especially because she started at a very young age where she couldn't get that help. Or she didn't have the money for it. But she said that what helped her recover was thinking that she had sisters and that those sisters could maybe fall into her steps. And she wanted to be a good example. And she wanted to protect herself in the sense of protect her body to avoid dying at any point from an overdose or anything like that, because she needed to be there for her sisters. And that's what kept her sane for a very long time, to avoid making reckless decisions, which was just thinking about her sisters and that she needed to be a good example to them. I asked her if she had any spiritual beliefs that assisted her with her recovery, as to which she answered that she didn't. That she didn't believe in any superior power, or that she never felt like, oh, God help me with this, or no. That actually what was her moving force was her sisters, constantly thinking about them, seeing them daily, and reminding herself, like, no, I have to be strong because I don't want them to follow my footsteps. And at the same time, like, I don't want them to see me in a bad state, or for me to become a baggage to them. And the last question that I asked her was if she felt that it was more of that she did it more of an escape, or if it was more of an experience. And the reason why I asked this is because in the book The Biology of Desire, Why Addiction is Not a Disease by Mark Lewis, she mentions, or the author mentions that your brain analyzes addiction very differently. It just sees it as a reward. So once you try the drug, you know how it feels and you want to go back to that feeling. So the brain analyzes as, oh, it's something good. Like, I'm getting something out of it. I'm having pleasure out of it. So that's why there's this continuous cycle of going back to it, because there's a reward. You're getting something out of it. And that kind of left me thinking, like, okay, so it's not only a you thing, but it's also a biology thing. So that's why I asked her. I was like, do you feel like, did you do it to escape, or did you do it just because you like the experience, you like the pleasure, like you like how it felt? And she indeed told me that. She told me at the beginning it was more of an escape, that she did it to avoid feeling what she was feeling at that moment, or the problems that were just surrounding her. But it came to the point where it was more of a, okay, I'm doing because I like the experience. And she told me a personal experience with meth. She said that she only tried it once because she became very scared of it, due to the fact that she really enjoyed the experience. She thought that it was something that she never felt before, and that was something that motivated her to go back. She wanted to feel the exact same feeling that she felt at the beginning. And for her, when she did it once, she couldn't stop thinking about it. Like, she wanted to feel like that way again. She wanted to feel happy. She wanted to feel relieved. She wanted to feel calm over and over and over again. And yeah. And therefore, at the end, that's when I asked her, like, hey, did you ever go to rehab? Did you ever go? And she was like, no, honestly, I didn't. I didn't feel like I needed it, because she says that since her addiction was replaced by a lesser strong drug, which in this case is weed, she believed that it wasn't something necessary, that it was something under control, especially since she feels that weed is not affecting her negatively in any way, or it's not affecting her life in a negative way. So for her is something very normal. It would be like taking melatonin to sleep. Something very, very calm. And yes, and I also asked her why she didn't think about it. She said because of that, but she also said because she didn't feel like she had the money for it. She thinks that counseling is very expensive. Not only that, but that it becomes very weird when you're talking to other people about it. That was something that she didn't feel ready for, and being able to be like in a group talking about your issues is something very personal and very hard to do. And she didn't feel like that was something that resonated with her personality or with who she was. So yes, my personal experience from the interview was actually very awkward in a sense. She's my friend at the end of the day, so we're used to talking to a lot of about our personal stuff. But to ask her specifically about something, it felt a little bit like if I was putting her, like judging her, like, and I didn't want her to feel like that. Like I didn't want to make her feel uncomfortable, or like if I was judging her or being prejudiced something towards her, because I really wasn't. And I tried to keep the questions as simple as I could, but at the same time kind of learning a little bit more about this background. She told me a lot of stuff that I didn't know about her. I don't think these things affected the way I see her as a person, but I do feel like it was like a taste of what it would be to have someone. And once I become a counselor, like I think it's very rough to ask those questions. And it's very rough. Well, she's my friend, so it was a little bit easier for her to answer it. But imagine a complete stranger like walking into your office and they're telling you, hey, I have this addiction, and now you have to ask all these questions. And if you become awkward, then the other person becomes awkward, and then it's just like, oh damn, like both of us are awkward. So it's a big responsibility. Even if it was just questions, it's still a big responsibility, and you do learn a lot. You learn that some drugs are more accessible. You learn the reason behind it. You learn a lot of stuff, and it was a learning experience. It was for me to be like, okay, like I have to take my studies. I need to take my studies seriously. I need to be a little bit more professional, and more than anything, I have to be more empathetic towards people. I need to understand, not to be as judgmental, to be like, oh, you're doing this like that's bad. Like no, like understand the reasoning why is very important. Especially as a counselor, you need to know the reason behind it, and you need to understand that the person you're talking to is at the end of the day a person, and they're entitled to their opinion, and they're entitled to make mistakes, and that's life. And yes, this was my video. Thank you guys for staying till the end. I have provided some references, and they will be provided in the comments below. So yes, thank you so much.